I paid $20,000 for a coach. My first year, I didn't listen to one thing he said. I'll just pay him just to hear him talk. Year two came around, and I said, you know what? I'm already paying this guy. I might as well just start listening to what he's saying. And that changed the trajectory of the business.
Hey there, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Elite Entrepreneur Seven Figure Journey podcast. Today, I'm your host Joel Cabrera. Today, we have Victoria from Downtown Financial Group. Super excited about this session and learning more about Victoria and her business. Honestly, she's out there in California, and I think this is going to be super fun, super educational. And I'm excited, Victoria. Let's hear a little bit about who you are, maybe even like your origin story, around the business. I think that's always exciting to start with.
Yeah, absolutely. Super excited to be here. One of the biggest things as an entrepreneur is always collaboration, since it can be lonely at the top, especially with when you get your way past the six-figure mark, the seven-figure, eight-figure mark. It tends to be a little lonely. So the fact that you're building out a community, I think, is awesome. But it didn't always start that way, right? It was solopreneur. It was initially. So I own and operate a mortgage company. But in the beginning, I was just a loan officer. I had gone over to help another broker exit out of their company because the reality is, Joel, is we're all going to exit. It just depends on, are we going to exit the business or the business going to exit us, right? So I went to go help him exit the business. Fast forward 6 months, year over year, increase the revenue of the company by 50%. I said, okay, let's start planning our exit, right? And he says, oh my goodness, no, there's so much more juice in the tank. I'm not going to leave. I said, well, dumb me for not getting it in writing. And I said, okay, well, I'm out. I wasn't going to do it just to be a loan officer. I wanted something more. I wanted an empire, I wanted legacy. And the reality is I couldn't find a company that had the background of corporate, such as like the structure, the training, the accountability, and the freedom of entrepreneurship, and the wealth building, and the freedom to collaborate and create. And so, since I couldn't find that, I built it. And that's when Downtown Financial Group was born. And it was just me initially in a 300 square foot little office in a WeWork in downtown LA. And I had no book of business, no database, no nothing. And I was just talking to everybody from the Starbucks barista to the guy spinning the wheel on the corner in downtown LA to my family, friends. Everybody knew what I did. And so for me, it just ended up consistently. Then I had to get an assistant and then another salesperson, and business just constantly kept growing. And fortunately, now we serve over 100 families a year. We fund about 100 million people. I have a team of 14, and we do close to $3 million a year in revenue. So it's been a bit of journey for sure.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It sounds like definitely lots of hustling in the beginning, and reaping the benefits of all of that right now with a really solid team. What I mean, maybe I'll switch it up a little bit here. I always like to hear about what's an interesting story that that's unique to you and kind of in that growth that maybe stood out to you as like really meaningful and like pivotal towards where you're at right
Yeah. I think for me, it was getting my first coach. Like, you can only grow so much. You can only grow to what you know. And for me, it was actually hiring a coach and like investing the money into the right coach, knowing really just like, okay, is this person talking out of their butt or are they really going to help me? And I remember, Joel, the first year, I paid $20,000 for a coach. My first year, I didn't listen to one thing he said. I was like, there's no way I could not work weekends. There's no way I could work less and make more. There's no way. So, of course, like the Latina in me, super stubborn, was like, I'll just pay him just to hear him talk, but I'm not going to do it. And then that was year one. Year two came around, and where I thought I was coachable, year two came around, and I said, you know what? I'm already paying this guy. I might as well just start listening to what he's saying. And that changed the trajectory of the business. That when I became coachable is when, and implementing what I was learning, that's when the game changed. And now I actually have two coaches. I have a CEO coach, I have a lending coach, that helps support me and my team, and then a CEO coach that helps me really envision the company in bigger ways to move forward.
Awesome. Yeah, that's beautiful. And I like how you were just honest about that. Like, hey, I wasn't listening to this person at all. And
Yeah.
but then eventually, I made the switch. That's good. That's great. And maybe just to even highlight your business, I would say right now, within your marketplace, what would be your unique value proposition, that you bring to the table, in your world, right now. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, one of the things that are core values of the company and something that I pride myself on is we're not just loan officers, we're loan advisors.
Mm,
What's the difference, right? Well, the difference is we take a 360 approach on finances, like actually helping to bridge the wealth gap. Did you know that only 7% of homeowners were Hispanic and a minority? And a lot of it is because we are taught to work really, really hard. We're taught to save money or we're taught to spend money, but we're not taught to invest money. And so, one of the things that we pride ourselves in doing is educating our clients, not just in let's buy a home and now I'm in debt 30 years, but how do we leverage the equity? How do we? I have a lot of entrepreneur clients. So I say, okay, do we have a business line of credit? Because we also have a commercial division. Are we renting a space? Are we owning a building? And that's really how we create generational wealth through home ownership, which is, I think, a little bit different. Most loan officers are 30-day loan officers. Goodbye, bought the house, that's it. We're 30-year loan officers and advisors, and that's one of the biggest key difference between us.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And what would you say is one of your most profound, like, client success stories, throughout all this time?
Profound. Okay, so I had this gentleman, landscaper client, and again, right, you would think landscapers, they're gardening your lawn, they don't make much. This gentleman made close to $600,000 a year, but because, like most entrepreneurs, they write off on their taxes all of the information, all of the deductions. The bank usually has to qualify you with just the net income that you report. Well, we have a few different programs because I don't just believe in saying no to anybody. And one of our entrepreneur programs is through bank statements where we qualify them using their deposits. So where everybody else was telling them no, we said yes.
Mm,
Fast forward, that client is now actually a private investor of mine, which now we get to lend money out to other clients
mm,
to support. I've helped him and his family both buy other homes, and I've even married their kids because they came in with a marriage certificate thinking that they needed a notary. And lo and behold, they needed an officiant. And I said, you know what? Give me 20 minutes. I will help you out, and I got the opportunity to marry them and some of their other kids. And really, I don't know what legacy is if you don't have, your preferred like mortgage professional marrying you guys.
that's
And
good.
I've had that as an opportunity to now most recently marry one of my loan officers. So it kind of came around full circle.
You're just marrying everybody left and right.
Everybody, everybody left and right,
That's crazy. Okay. Oh, that's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think having somebody that's trusted, right? One of the big things that I feel like I keep hearing right now, because my specialty, I'm in the marketing department, right? That's my area of expertise, and like I keep hearing how we're in uh, a trust deficit, economy. Like nobody, the trust is like at an all time low, right?
for sure.
So to be able to have, somebody that you trust, in that home buying process is obviously extremely important. To the point where they're marrying your kids. I mean, I think that speaks, a lot to your character, and beautiful things all across the board. So I love that. Um,
Yeah. How have you seen marketing evolve with entrepreneurs in this space, considering that trust is something that's underutilized?
yeah, look at that. The tables are turning right now. Uh, yeah, I would say so. Like Google came out with a study about like a year ago or something like that, and where they found that the average consumer is taking about let's say watching somebody's content about 7 hours before they purchase from them, right?
Mm,
So like just with that fact alone, so like let's say YouTube being like one of a big deal, right? Where
sure.
you have that long form content. so that people can, find you, and binge your content, right? So then maybe they have a question, around the home buying process, specific to LA, and maybe they're in that exact unique situation where they have a successful business and they keep, they write off everything, but they haven't found a program that really says yes to them. But they come across like, they come across you, or maybe with this, literally with this interview, maybe we could clip it up. They come across that clip and then they go to your YouTube channel. They just keep learning more and more. And again, that 7 hours passes by and you're the only person they want to work with, right? Because
Right.
now you're that trusted authority to them. So like that's like a huge, huge thing. So in essence, you could put that under branding. Branding is like everything right now.
And I
Yeah.
think that, as you mentioned, one important thing is content. I don't think enough entrepreneurs do content because they're afraid to be on camera, or how I look, or my hair, or my this, or my that. And you just said it right then and there. That's how you build trust with the
Mm.
consumer. But you have to have content to do it. You can't do it through the mailers or the ad magazines or the billboards like back in the days, or the bus benches, right? It's got to be even TV. Like, you're not, everybody's fast forwarding commercials. I don't know about you, but I'm fast forwarding those suckers, but I'm not fast forwarding the scrolling, which I think is a very valid point.
Yeah. And I would say, um, something was in my mind and it just I've completely blanked out. That's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So branding, content, it's all really important. And a necessity.
Sure.
Oh, this is what I was gonna say actually. So one of the things that I've also been coming across really thoroughly right now as well is, a lot of people have this thing of like, with content creation, I'm like, oh, I don't have 1,000 people watching my stuff all the time. You only have a small handful of people, and that's 100 subscribers or something like that, right? What people are seeing in the marketplace is, if your channel and your content is really niche and very specific, and you just pretty much consistently stay on topic with whatever that brand is, it doesn't really matter if you only have 200 followers or 300 followers. If those are the exact people that you want to attract towards your business, and you have, it's like having an auditorium full of people,
Hmm.
right? That are your exact prospects, right? Your ideal clients. So that's another thing, like being really niche, being very specific, very intentional. Because when people think of content, you think of like TikTok dances, maybe, and
Sure.
other stuff, which would attract a broader audience to you. So you'll gain those vanity metrics if you go down that path. But when it comes to real time revenue generation and conversion, you definitely want to niche down, and even if you have a lot less numbers, right, in front of you. So that's like another thing.
Yeah, and I think, you mentioned vanity matrix, right? One of the biggest things for me, and just whether it be coming onto podcasts, or being on social media, is just documenting your authentic self. I don't think you have to
Mm,
be any one person on camera or off camera. What you see is what you get. And that really drives more people to want to explore more about you.
mm,
And in addition to that, being able to, who cares about the likes? I care about the shares. I care if
mm,
I'm like actually spreading the word, because that was the intention of me getting online anyway. So whether it's voiceovers, you don't even have to be in front of the camera. It could just be showing people about your day. People love to see businesses being built. So just share little pieces of yourself, in addition to educating or entertainment, whatever feels good to you. But really, a lot of people say, like, oh, Victoria, what if they don't like my stuff? Guess what? They can unfollow and unsubscribe, and you will get those people that you really, really want to target attracted to you. And so I would say, don't worry about the vanity matrix. Just be authentically you, and that will grow.
yeah, I mean, couldn't have said it any better. One of the things it's funny you mentioned coaches earlier. I mean, that's pretty much what our company at Elite Entrepreneurs do. We specialize in leadership coaching for
Mhm.
seven-figure entrepreneurs. We've built out a beautiful community. We host these quarterly events. Like these people are amazing, honestly, really good people, really good human beings. So when we speak about let's say visionary leadership, right? what impact do you hope to make in your industry, over the next 3, 4, 5, even 10 years?
Yeah. So we as a company have a goal to help over 500 families become millionaires, whether it be through
Mm,
net equity and also partnerships, right? Collaborations.
mm,
I connect my clients to other clients all the time. It's not just one thing, it's a bunch of different things. We create a community and an ecosystem. The same thing goes to the people that work with me. All of my actual team, we're all entrepreneurs too. So helping them find a way to build wealth, create wealth, and also preserve wealth are a couple different pieces. So for me, it's how many millionaires can we make, Joel, for in between now and the next 5 years so that we can just continue to create financial legacy with everybody across that we meet.
I love that. That's very, very clear, very specific, very
Mhm.
metric kind of driven. I mean, out of curiosity, how you tracking that? I mean, out of curiosity, with how would you track something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, so a couple different KPIs is number one, let's say if it's on our performance within our team, we look at how many families they help. So we have trackers, we have quarterly and monthly one on ones that show us, okay, what are your conversions from a sales standpoint, lead to prospect, prospect to client, and then client thereafter. And then that we teach that they earn commissions off of that. So that's how we see their wealth, and we build KPI metrics towards that. The other thing, as far as client base goes, is every one of our clients gets a monthly report about how much equity they have earned or haven't earned in regards to the home that they purchased. And so it's through that report that then we will create a metric for how many people combined we have helped build wealth. So anyone that's ever purchased a home through us has never come back and said, Victoria, oh man, I lost money on that house. No, this is, it's not that type of market or environment. It is always, man, I'm so glad you pushed me to buy. I'm so glad I took advantage of that rate, or I'm so glad that we made the decision.
I love that. I think that's brilliant too. Even honestly, I know it's something that you're doing that aligns with your mission. And that, but I think even from a marketing standpoint, it's like you're always keeping your company top of mind and reminding them, hey, look at the progress you're making right now, and that's actually really smart. I like that.
Thank you.
Um, okay, and maybe let's maybe pivot a little bit to the topic of leadership, right? You've grown the company. You have a team of 15. We're big on like being authentic as well, and just transparent, right? The road of entrepreneurship is nothing easy, right? It comes with lots of ups and downs. People are at different stages, right?
Mhm.
So what, at this stage that you're at right now, even with 15 team members or employees, what are your current, maybe, struggles, even regarding leadership, and that, team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really more so the biggest struggle is the people part, managing people, managing their emotions, right? Half of my team are subcontractors, right? They're entrepreneurs themselves. So they go through the similar struggles that entrepreneurs go through, like the imposter syndrome, the can I do this, the man, I'm running out of runway. What do I cash runway? Like, what do I do next? Um, I've gotten 15 no's and no yes. Like, what do I do?
Mm,
And so for me, I think it's being able to hold the space for those people to, like,
mm,
we have a crying timer. Was what I call it. It's a 15-minute sand timer. And I put it in, I flip it over and I say, okay, you have 15 minutes to cry about it. The client said, no, this, and that. Life happens. You get to, whoa, whoa, whoa is me. I will hold the space for that. And then after that, we're going to go back in the game. We're going to go back in the game with our head held high, and we're going to go ahead and dominate. And what can I do to support that? Right. And so I think number one is creating a space as a leader to understand everybody's going to have hard days. The other thing that I do is really, we have implemented in our company culture the 131 method. So I tell my team sometimes you don't need more of me, you need more of you. And the
mm,
way to do that is through our 131. So, one, identify what is a specific challenge that you're having, because sometimes they just come into my office and say, oh, the world is burning, but don't tell me that it's just the kitchen that's burning. But to them, it's the world that's burning. Okay, so one, let's identify the specific challenge. give me three possible solutions that you came up with. And then one, we'll figure out a solution together and how I can support you on that. And it's through that method that most of them already have the answers within. It's just creating some boundaries and some guardrails to help them see that as well. And so for us, we use that as a tool to help manage the people. We also have in our company A, B, C, D player lists that they evaluate themselves on. Are you being an A player today? Are you being a B player today? If you are, how do we get you up to an A player? Because we all want high performing collaborative A player people on our team. And sometimes everybody has hard days. And it's just, okay, how do we, let's have a conversation. And when we have those hard days, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe somebody else did something wrong that I felt uncomfortable about. We have what are called clearing conversations. Hey, Joelle, let's have a clearing conversation. I want to bring up to your attention X. This is how X made me feel, and this was the outcome of X. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your side so that we can clear the air. And it's through that that then we can have collaborative conversations instead of confrontational conversations. And so, honestly, that's the hardest part. Like just staying accountable to all those little three boundaries is the hard part because you as a leader are human. And you're like, forget this 131, forget this, like just do what I asked you to do, right? Like all of that internal dialogue still happens as a leader. However, you're building a business and you're also building people. And if you build the people, they will build the business for you. So I think
Mm.
that's always the checkpoint for me as a leader to remember I got to build the people because if I want the business to be exitable at the valuation that I want, gotta suck it up. I gotta keep my internal dialogue or find some other, leadership friends that I can have wine with and, go through and they can hold space for me. But at the end of the day, the people are the key element to the success of a business.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing all of that.
Sure.
I'm sure there's gonna be people that listen to that and pick up some gems from that for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, maybe I guess even on a final note, like what are some of the like some major lessons or stories that you think would be extremely valuable for the audience to hear, specifically from you, and let's say the audience being those seven-figure entrepreneurs who struggle with leadership, right, and
Yeah.
who don't have these, let's say, systems in place, who don't have enough, they're not spending enough time with their families, for example, they're just like super overwhelmed with just trying to hustle their way out of their problems and things of that nature. Yeah, what are your
Yeah.
some of your thoughts? Yeah.
Well, first of all, been there. New levels, new devils. Sometimes I still go there, right? It's just part of the journey. For me, number one was understanding there is no balance. There's work life integration. And I'm a mom of two. I have I have a teenage girl, and I have a 13-year-old and an 8-year-old. So they need mom in a different way. I'm married. I have an amazing husband. So that support system at home is really important to me. However, it's work life integration. I used to think that I had to hide myself, like the work version of me from my family because I didn't want them to see me struggle or I didn't want them to see how hard my day was. And those are really the gems that you give your kids to see that you aren't superwoman, but that you are human and you are mom and you are all those things, right? Talking to your significant other, like including them in the good days and the bad days. Number one is super important. So work life integration is huge for me because I had to learn to give myself grace when I couldn't show up to pick up the kids for from an after school activity, or I needed to lean on to my husband for that support, or family to help me and be able to be open to receive that support because I'm building something, right? Or telling my kids I can't be the field trip chaperone because I have meetings on meetings that I have to take care of, but also telling them it's because of those meetings that we'll get to go to Japan first class, that we'll also get to go to Disneyland and be VIP status, right? Like they sacrifice just as much as we sacrifice as entrepreneurs. So including them in both the good and the negative, I think is super important. So for me, that was one crucial lesson that like it took me a while to figure that out. And once I did, life just became so much more easy and I was able to embrace my greatness even more. The other thing that for me as like a hustler or a grinder is some people the bigger you get, the bigger the target you have, the more haters you get. And that's okay too. I think that it's super important for you to understand your greatness. I think it's super important for you to also understand that if you have haters, that means you're doing something well, regardless of whether it's the competition or not. I think that's a huge proponent of sometimes people like to hide their greatness for fear of success or for fear of failure. Just get out there and do it. There's only one of you in the world. So share your authentic self and don't be afraid to take on that new partnership or relationship as long as it's the right fit and they're your goals. And then the other thing that I learned is not every opportunity is your opportunity.
Mm,
I think a lot of us as entrepreneurs and seven figure earners, we get shiny object syndrome. I'm guilty of that. Like, oh, the next best thing. Oh, AI. Oh, marketing. Or I need to get a dog with a bone and a logo and all these things. The reality is, this has nothing to do with my company, but it looks super cool on Instagram or it looks great. And I think you really have to see what are your 3 to 5 year goals? And does that align with your 3 to 5 year goal mission? Is that going to support it? If not, it's okay. Having boundaries is okay too. I'm still learning. No means no, not no means maybe. And in opportunities that come my way, I have to really assess time I cannot get back, money I can make, time I can't get back. So, does this opportunity support buying back my time, increasing my opportunity for my vision, or is it me just helping somebody else with their vision? And if it's not about me and how it's going to help me go, get to my goal and us collaborate so we both get there somewhere succinctly, then this just sounds like a great opportunity, Joel. At this time, it just doesn't sound like it's the right fit for me. However, if I come across anybody that may fit that opportunity, I'll be happy to make that introduction. And being able to have your own power to say no, I think is super important, especially as a woman in business.
mm. Yeah, I think those are some really important gems, and thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
Victoria, where can people find you?
sure.
If they want to work with you.
Yeah, so Downtown Financial Group is we're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the things. For the company, for me, you can get with me on Instagram. Victoria M CEO is my handle, and I'm not on TikTok yet. I'm not that cool yet, Joel, but I'm working on it. However, be happy to connect with anybody that either needs our services or just wants to collaborate with another like-minded individual.
Cool. Thank you for taking your time and being on the podcast. We really appreciate it. And if anything, maybe see you in the future. Talk to you
Yeah,
soon.
yeah,
And just a whole lot of gratitude. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. See you next
yeah.
time.
Thanks for having me.